The month during and after major game updates tend to have less juicy future info bits regarding Star Citizen development. Regardless, I've got your summary and what interesting bits there were in April right here. If you enjoy these info drops, subscribe and maybe consider supporting this work on Patreon. Otherwise, I'd like to welcome you to the Space Tomato Star Citizen Monthly Report, and thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. And thanks to my newest Patreon members, Clover, Vistaverse, John Atomic, and Luke Anderson Quest. The AI content team completed their first pass on the security, tourist, and tour guide behaviors from last month. They also began implementing the deck crew, with the first officer on deck giving pilots assistance during ship positioning. As servers begin to experience less load, this will give the game much more life in hangars and on landing pads. Sounds like AI hygiene behaviors are coming along too, which will likely be first rolled out with the colonial towns coming to the game later in the year, and are definitely needed for Squadron 42. The AI features team improved subsumption tasking with the ability to pull strings via dropdown instead of memory, subsumption being the logic system of AI in the game. Untrained civilian behaviors received more work in order to make sure they realistically react to danger and protect their lives the best they can. Support also began for spawn closets. The AI tech team focused on the navigation links for the navigation mesh in April to allow for animations and pathfinding between two areas to motion warp if needed, and can extend navigation to complete complex pathfinding. Of course, EVA AI functionality also saw work, with AI characters now easily able to smoothly leave and enter ships in 0G. They can even move to the correct position naturally, so the animation is much easier to link up smoothly. In character art, the majority of outfits for Orison and the hospitals were modeled and skinned. The team also continued modeling some very good-looking armor coming later in the year. They supported an X-ray shader and skeleton model for medical gameplay UI, and progressed with backpacks and holographic projections for the physical inventory UI. The landing zone team of course focused on Orison, which saw final art complete status on all major platforms, shipyard structures, and rings. Sounds like there's a decent amount of structure in this new city. The modular team focused on colonial outposts, which despite the text in this monthly report, they also did work on in last month's monthly report as well. The majority of room architecture and props in here are finally complete, and gameplay elements are now being tested in the spaces for future missions and conflicts in game. We may see some content delivered with these locations. Definitely keep checking back here for news on that. The modular team in Montreal, part of the newly opened studio, is almost finished with the final polish phase on the hospitals in Orison and New Babbage. These are big features to keep an eye on as death in the game changes in meaning. Steep canyons are once again seeing experimentation, with height map testing in Pyro as the team continues their polish passes on the new system. They also set their eyes on Nyx. While the system is still expected to be a ways out, production on the planets of the system has begun, with the next stage being to move the planet asset packs to final art complete. Don't expect Delamar to look just like it used to. In ship art, the US team worked hard on the Tumbrel Nova for the last review, with the following quote: "We are now into a proper QA testing cycle, and are working on making sure the polished vehicle and experience are going to make players happy. The Nova tank has been a concerted effort by all, and we are proud of everyone's contribution and are excited to see it go live. And boy oh boy, does driving it make me happy. It is very fun, and I'm hoping I can get some footage up on the channel for you guys shortly. And while we're at it, I'm excited to announce I will be giving away a Tumbrel Nova tank right here on the channel when we reach 15,000 subscribers. There are many ways to enter, and if you pay close attention, you may get an extra point or two towards the next ship giveaway. Details in the video description below. Anyways, back to ship art. The Constellation Tourist, the beginner ship for the advanced cargo hauler, is in the release prep stage, looking forward to a potential July release. The weapons art team continued to work on the standalone Grey Cat tools. I wonder if other companies will have tools like these. The tractor beam is in final art, and the salvage tool is going through white box towards the beginning of its art stage. Medical tools also saw some iterations. A handful of bespoke weapons also have been given some love to make them sit better with a mystery ship. Javelin? Bangle? The audio team saw 2 new additions onboarded to help with development, as the rest of the team focused on preparing for Invictus Week and Orison. This will include new music from Pedro Camacho, new wind designs, and some new techniques we haven't seen in the game yet. When it comes to the engine, the important things to know are these. Server meshing received work in April, with the star hash logic being prepared for transfer to that feature. The rest of the section generally talked about Gen 12 progress and cloud rendering progress. Several UI features were considered by the features team for the upcoming player inventory, with a lot of work going into a smoother drag and drop functionality between the various inventories we'll be using. Weird use cases might pop up, like inventories inside of other inventories, which require multiple windows to move items between them. Many of these functionalities are things you're going to see in just about every survival and building game. The team also worked on looting, which will be done by creating a body copy with all of your items on it. This body will remain for you to retrieve your items from or for others to steal from. Wait, is this it? Is this where death starts to become real? Good luck with your falling through ships, falling through planets, suffocating on air, falling over backwards and dying, falling through space stations, and all your other game-induced suicide scenarios. Seriously, it'll be interesting to see how this works with all the various ways you can die in this game. It'll be a turning point, no doubt, and will take some time to work, but I don't think it's going to come too soon. At least I hope. Work continued on the player asset manager, with the final design still up in the air for its July release. The upcoming much-needed cargo refactor continued progress last month as well, and internal testing of dynamic events continues every week as they become more common throughout the year. The mission features team last month worked on spawn closets, applying them to an underground facility proof of concept. A refactor of spawning is underway, as the feature needs to be honed in and focused for the way death is going to change soon, with hospitals, on-ship medical tools, and personal medical tools. And on the topic of damage, a very important development. An update to friendly fire logic and splash damage was made. Now, as long as players do more damage to enemies than friendlies, they won't be punished for any accidental damage caused. However, they will still receive crime stats if more serious crimes are committed in the initial implementation. This will be most noticeable when using an EMP, so players should still be careful not to cause more friendly damage when firing. This is really smart, in my opinion, and is bound to help some people that find themselves accidentally ruining their own time. It won't cover all cases, but I think this will help players avoid picking up some crime statuses in events like Xenothreat or the Ninetales Lockdown. The new thruster VFX, meant to model the vectors of air coming out of each vehicle thruster, has been receiving more work. This has been a multi-month, multi-team feature that seems small but is something players have been asking for years. Thruster capacitors also received work, with additional information on the feature. Quickly, I'll give a brief explanation of a capacitor. It's basically a battery that can push out a lot of power very quickly, but charges quite slowly. These are very useful for activities that require a pulse of energy, like combat or close quarters flying. These capacitors will allow you to maneuver differently, but will cost you. They will also be applied to other parts of the game as well, as more components are linked into the power system fully. April also saw updated heads-up displays receive work, which will be needed for features like the missile operator mode coming in the next couple updates. The graphics team last month focused heavily on the Gen 12 renderer. Progress went well, and things are going well with the partial implementation of the feature scheduled for July. This could help slightly with performance over time, but should not be looked at as any sort of golden ticket. Lighting, of course, put a lot of work towards Orison. With sightlines being dozens of kilometers in distance, lighting needs to be on point for the next city. The live content team spent time working on, well, live content, but also focused on the comm missions to help improve and expand PvP gameplay in the future. This involved working with the Spawn Closets feature, now live in-game. Narrative apparently received the memo, spending a lot of their time working on Invictus Week, Orison, and hospitals. The team also discussed plans to expand the Reputation application recently released in-game, and worked on scripts for a new upcoming dynamic event. Props worked quite a bit on the colonialism outposts that have been progressing for months now. Props also finished off Orison and created many assets for hospitals, including things like wheelchairs, medical beds, and gurneys. The new hospital bed template was also rolled out, needing to create a character-usable hospital bed in every location. The Systemic team wrapped up the latest version of the economy and AI simulation that will control the game, preparing the software for a public showcase this month. The Super P Cache received work and a celestial body positioning service was prototyped. The team also assisted on work for server meshing. A new UI style was created for low-tech areas, such as Lorville. It is unclear if this is a derivative of Utilitarian, which is a style that Lorville shares with Area 18, or maybe this is a subset that will exist in every style that's used in Star Citizen. But it sounds like it will add additional unique characteristics to each location regardless. New UI elements were created for an upcoming Door UI update, likely to work with the power and interactive system being developed this year. Finally, can I just say, while not an update, hats off to the team for the recent scanning UI. If you guys are watching this at CIG, I'm really happy to see one of my favorite parts of last year's showcase find its way into the product. These slick animations. They really make the UI feel polished and quality, and build my confidence as to what we can expect from UI going forward for the rest of the game. Last month, the vehicle tech team began dialing in the radar and scanning system for a full, satisfying experience when the feature is released, scheduled for July. If you'd like to learn more about how this feature works, you can find my video linked in the video description. Work was also done on the Nova tank to make it feel more tanky by focusing on animation timing and wheel surface debris. Getting real picky about our tank details. VFX spent part of the month making thruster effects more readable from a distance, much like how the same was done to weapons previously. This will make for some more visibly stimulating battles, better information and awareness to others, and some really cool looking views with the larger ships. Work also progressed on the Nova tank's cannon VFX, thruster wind volumes, and the new effects for vehicle, radar, and ping, which will be similar to ship effects. April has ended with a lot of good work being done to button down 313 and prepare for 314. While the month was a bit slow, especially in comparison to what will definitely be a heavy May and June, there were some great tidbits in there. Make sure to join my Tumbril Nova Tank 15,000 subscriber giveaway down below for the chance to win one of these massive heavy attack vehicles. If you want to keep getting updated on the latest Star Citizen news every month, you can subscribe below. And if you'd like to keep the show going, you can always support me on Patreon. Otherwise, you keep doing what you're doing. And I hope to see you in the next one. And thanks to my top supporters TK, Valiant15, Ben N, The Alpaca, The Huntress, Holstencoop, Falcus Vipus, Dasek, Guilty Conscious, and Extreme Tuber 7.